Hello everyone, it is the build-up show. Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur. Finally.
I know. It's been the longest 2 weeks ever.
I'm not going to sit here and bash international football. But because there's
been international football.
Honestly, they've tried to make it more exciting, and I think probably if that's your bag, that's your bag. Fine.
Ring girls. What have they done to make it more entertaining?
Sorry, you lost me there with the big. What
have they done?
They've made a new tournament, haven't they?
Is this three-team leagues?
No idea. No one knows. Nobody knows. All we know is that there's just more competitive football, which bodes splendidly. So far,
it doesn't feel like they've had competitive matches. Have they actually had competitive matches?
What do you mean?
England.
Well, how would it feel if they had competitive matches?
I don't know. Maybe I might have thought someone would have mentioned it. They talked about it during the World Cup.
Right.
Like I don't know any of the scores that England have had. Genuinely, no idea.
Okay.
How did they get on?
No idea.
They drew with Spain. No, they lost to Spain.
They lost to Spain and did they beat
Switzerland last night?
1-0.
But that was a friendly.
That was a friendly. Anyway, what we know is we know the Premier League, we know the rules of the Premier League. We have to face Tottenham Hotspur, but not at their stadium, at Wembley Stadium, because that's weird as well. But so be it. What we do is we get to revisit the scene, Chris, of, I think probably the worst result of last season. You could maybe make the case for Man City, but I think you can make a case for extenuating circumstances around City. That was the one game last season where we were totally and utterly outplayed and made to look.
Yeah, I think as far as a performance goes, the one that hurt the most was the last one, to be fair. But as far as performance goes, and certainly Premier League, that was the one where we looked a little bit silly and stuff. And I think the players will want to go out there, and Degsy Lovren probably won't start in this game. But Joe Gomez might be heading into this game thinking, that's not going to happen to me. I'm going to stand up to the threat of Harry Kane. I'm not going to let him treat me the way that he treated Degsy Lovren.
Well, that's the really interesting thing, because by all accounts, the reports this week, Ross, is that Lovren, everyone seems to be floating out as a month. I don't think that's necessarily true, but we know that he's definitely not going to be, he's not training, he's not fit, he's not going to be around for this. That was something that we were all looking at with gritted teeth when the fixtures came out, and particularly once we knew that it was going to be at Wembley as well. The Kane versus Lovren battle was going to be a massive one, but exactly what Chris says there, by proxy, we've talked about Joe Gomez taking this opportunity in the absence of Lovren to really, put a marker down. He's done it exceptionally well so far, but look, with the greatest respect to the players that he's come up against so far, all of whom he's handled really well, there is a class difference between Harry Kane and everything else that he's faced.
Yeah, but I think he did well against Zaha, to be fair. I think you can throw him up there. He's been a top-class player.
5 goal a season, both for Zaha.
He's still a quality player.
You're right. Look, as you say, what I'm driving at, he's faced challenges along the way. Look, Glenn Murray is an effective centre-forward. He's faced target men in Benteke. He's faced barely guys who are going to look to fight. He's faced guys who are going to harry and hassle you in Arnautovic. But Harry Kane is the complete package. He is, is he arguably the complete centre-forward? Probably is. And because of, as Chris says, everyone's got that memory of how Dejan Lovren was absolutely destroyed in this game. It's a combination of added pressure, but also, probably a really tasty challenge for him.
Yeah, I think he'll relish the challenge. I think he needs to maintain his place in that team. I think you can make a case if Lovren was fit, would he even start anyway? Given the fact of Gomez's form and that he lost his head and he got it hooked off, which Klopp never does. I think Joe Gomez needs to take that next step up to another challenge and cement his place within that team, because his partnership he's got with Van Dijk at the minute, he knows he's got his back. Yeah. So I don't think about Van Dijk when we played Spurs last season, did we? When his head fell off. And obviously that spurred on a decent run that we went on and stuff, but I just think since Van Dijk's come in, we're so much better. We eradicate those mistakes. And Lovren was playing the Van Dijk role, which isn't what Lovren does anyway.
It'll be a slightly different challenge this time against Tottenham, won't it? I think, I'm probably expecting them to go with 2 up top with Moura and Kane. And, I've not seen every single game of Tottenham's, but Harry Kane hasn't quite looked the same player. Now, although he scored his 2 goals so far and he broke that duck in August and all that, I think he's finding his feet with a strike partner, because I think he's grown accustomed to playing a certain way and the team playing off him in a certain way. Now, it'll be interesting for me to see what Tottenham do. Like, are they going to go and counter-attack us first and foremost, or are they going to play their natural game? I think with Lucas Moura in the setup, we saw them take advantage of Manchester United in that way. But then equally, when you watch the first half of that Man United game, Man United were the better side. And I think Liverpool and Tottenham, Pochettino and Klopp, they're always going to be close fought games. Yeah. And they're always going to be very difficult. It's almost toss up a coin as to who wins these, apart from the last one.
Yeah, I don't feel like and I don't feel like we've truly ever really had the measure of Pochettino's Spurs. You know, I can look at.
I think Rodgers had a good record against him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many games he would have played against him, but you know, you'd always feel a bit like I go into every game against Man City quite confident. I don't have that with a Mourinho Man United team example. I always, you know, again, we still have yet to properly get the measure of those. The Spurs, when you're dead right, I think we're always seem to be quite evenly matched. What I'd like this game to be is that, you know, I spoke to Flav about this from the Fighting Cock podcast. That video should be up on the channel now, and he talked about, you know, kind of them not maybe them that, you know, they're not quite at the races. They're maybe a little bit under strength, as you say. That Harry Kane's not quite firing on all cylinders, and they're also fearful of they didn't sign players and Liverpool have improved. This is the one where for me we learned the harsh lesson in this game last season. We used it as a basis to kick on. Really, what we should be doing is what we learned. It should be just a continuation. There shouldn't be a stopping point. We should have come full circle here, having improved from the last time we played them away, gone on to a Champions League final, strengthened the squad, and we should come back for this game and prove.
Yeah, I want to be, you know, to be brutally honest, I want to be closing the door on them, and not to say that this will define their season, but as a fan base, their heads are ready to roll because of the not signing players, because they just want to see, and they're looking at Liverpool, and I spoke to Flav as well, and he's like, Liverpool have signed this, and you know, you've got better, and we're just doing exactly the same, and think we can close the gap to Manchester City by doing that. So it feels like that fan base is probably just on the tipping point, maybe. Yeah, and if Liverpool come and absolutely slap them upside the face with a cock and balls, then they'll be really unhappy about that, and you know, quite rightfully, I think.
I think
you're for a cock and ball slapping
every day. Why not? I think it's a perfect time to play. And I think the other thing that comes into play is the World Cup. All the players came back late and they were knackered and they didn't invest in anyone. They've just had a break. Harry Kane played 61 minutes last night and he's the star striker who's still recovering. Yeah. I keep saying that people are still in pre-season. Yeah. Alderweireld and Vertonghen both played 90 minutes and Christian Eriksen played 90 minutes in friendlies that don't fucking matter. Yeah. When there's a congested fixture list of Champions League, I know we've got it as well, but we're in a better position now because we've added that squad depth that they they could be knackered.
We're going to do the preferred that I've seen, you know, preferred 11s from us already. We've had the midfield ends up being a big discussion point every game this season, but this is the thing. Look, they do have options. I think it gets undersold a bit, the depth that they do have.
Well, Alderweireld was missing for a huge part of last season. Harry Winks was injured as well. Moura's not even the same player.
Yeah, Son's not been available to them this season. They're only just getting Lamela back at the back end of last season after a long left. They do have players, but as you're saying, they've had to go strong. They've had to basically put their best team out for the start of this game. There's been no respite. They've been, you know, I think some of them came back early for training, whereas Liverpool resisted the temptation to do that a little bit. You know, I know Trent came back earlier, but Jordan Henderson was told, "No, mate, go and get your rest." And we're still not seeing Jordan Henderson up to his full powers yet. So it is an interesting one. Sticking with the Henderson stuff, Chris. If he gets the nod in this game. Mm-hmm. It's a big nod. It's probably a big nod for the people who are his detractors. I don't think Klopp would ever see it as a big nod or whatever. But you know, these are the kind of games where, if we've been preparing Henderson, we've more likely been preparing him for these games than we have for any of the ones.
Yeah, I think so. And listen, if the game goes as you would maybe expect, with Tottenham having a lot of the ball and utilising the big pitch at Wembley and being the home side, then, you know, our counter-attacking and our breaking from midfield could be key to that. And you think, well, who's the better at that out of Jordan Henderson and maybe Gini Wijnaldum? And I think naturally Henderson's range of passing is just a little bit better than Wijnaldum, so he could be good in that type of a role. But the interesting battle for me is going to be the midfield. You know, if Dembele plays well, Tottenham tend to play well. I don't think Henderson's done particularly well against Dembele over the last couple of years. I don't seem to remember thinking, you know what, Henderson's done him there. I always seem to think Dembele's had a good game, which conversely would say he's dominated our midfield a little bit. So do you look for someone who's maybe a bit stronger in possession on the ball, Gini Wijnaldum, something? It's an interesting battle anyway.
Yeah, I'm look again, we're still not finding a world for Fabinho. Yeah, you know, and it's a long season. We know this. There's a chance we could not. It still could yet be weeks till we see Fabinho starting to be properly used. I do start to wonder though, Ross, if you don't need Fabinho in this game, what games have you bought Fabinho for, if not to play one of your strongest rivals away from home?
But then, why would you bring him in when the midfield's working? You won four out of 4 games against different opponents, and you're winning. I agree. I would like to see him play. But then is he a Champions League away thing? Yeah. We're going to go defensive. I think we'll be a bit different to what we were last season. In fact, we haven't got Maribor or Spartak, or we can just got him and Spank. Yeah. And we need to be a bit more, maybe Benitez-like European ways, and he's a perfect player for that, for me to go and do, particularly against PSG. I think we have to go and defend there. That's where he come in. Or Southampton at home is easier, whereas Tottenham away is kind of a big game. If he chucks him in now, he's had no game time with those teammates. To chuck him in is deep for me.
Yeah, I think the other thing with Fabinho, and I agree with what Ross is saying, is that if he's not ready, he's not ready. Yeah. And I think we'd all agree that Klopp does that with players. We've cited it however many times this season already. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Robertson, all those type of things. It's like, why would you play him if you're getting 70% of what you think Fabinho is, when 100% of Wijnaldum's better than 70 of Fabinho? Yeah, no. You just wouldn't do that. Yeah. So if he's not ready, he's not ready. Trust the manager. We keep saying it all the time. I want to trust the manager. Trust him then. Yeah. Trust him then, stop talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely true. We're going to get to preferred 11s in a moment, but before we do, we film a fantastic new podcast that we launched a couple of weeks ago now. It's called Around the League. The lads and, in fact, lasses, I've had a fantastic time on this week, so go and check it out.
There's an interesting one for me. We didn't buy anyone in the summer, and I can't see past their first 11 is brilliant, but then past that, I think that's where they're going to struggle. They've got a really difficult Champions League group, so they've got Barcelona, Inter Milan, and PSV. I don't think they're going to get through that at all. But fixture-wise, they've got us, Inter, Brighton, Watford, Huddersfield. I think Brighton have shown so far this season they're not an easy team anymore. I think, but you said before, the way that they play us, they're not easy to break down. Equally, you said Watford are flying at the minute, despite losing one of the best players. And again, Huddersfield, just a Huddersfield. Do you think that's where Tottenham will fall down, is their squad depth? And do you think they'll regret not buying anyone? And do you think they'll struggle playing at Wembley?
Yeah, it's going to be a load of factors like that, isn't it? But you've got to... They're keeping the same team, they're keeping the same fluidity in that, I guess. So they know how to play with each other, they know what to do, and they've got some great players in that squad. I think this is going to be their big test. I think if they lose to us, then if we beat them like a nice little 4-1, that's going to... What do they do after that? How do they bounce back?
So, yeah, obviously we've started this thing just to give a bit of a broader look at the things, to contextualise Liverpool's season a bit, Ross, and you sat down and looked predominantly, I think, at how this run of fixtures, we know how terrible Liverpool's run of fixtures is, but it was kind of done to look at how our rivals are doing. Did it allay any fears?
Yes and no. I think you can get trapped in the mind if you look at our fixture list because it's on the board upstairs and you kind of go, Jesus Christ, that's quite difficult. But everyone's in the same boat. Like I said with Spurs, their squad depth, they've got tough fixtures that are coming towards them. Got to play Inter Milan, Watford. I've shown they're not, easy to beat anymore. It makes you feel better that everyone's kind of in the same position. Because they've got this congested fixture list coming up in September. It's kind of like, okay, I'm sound with it. I just think the people that we're playing kind of go, oh Jesus, it's quite hard.
Yeah, that's the great thing about that show. I listened to last week's, and it was Sion last week's, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. But it's that I can watch something, if I want to know about another team in the league, I can watch something, but I'm not seeing the Liverpool slant on it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And everything about that podcast just says, well, this is what they're doing, and this is how it affects us. And it's a good show to listen to as a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's on the Redmen TV. It's part of the subscription package on there. You can get over there. There's loads of new stuff. Chris is doing the Newsroom podcast. He had Dave Maddock from the Mirror on last week, which is absolutely brilliant. We've got the Reds News Roundup. Every angle of Liverpool Football Club is covered in depth and detail in podcast form and in video form, meaning that you can watch it on your desktop, you can watch on your mobile, but also you can listen on the go in your podcast app as well. So obviously no more need to be tethered in anything. You can watch it on the telly, and when you want to go out, you can flick over, switch it to a podcast version, and go and get it on your commute as well. So yeah, perfect time to join up. Highly, highly recommended. Preferred 11s then, gents. You've actually both gone exactly the same. Question: with your midfield of Gini Wijnaldum, James Milner, and Naby Keita, is this simply because you're looking to be right, and that's the midfield that's seen the most footy so far this season?
No, not for me. I think there is an element of that, maybe.
I was looking more towards the next fixture as well, though.
Okay.
One thing you said before about Gini Wijnaldum, I thought they're going to play Wanyama or they're going to play Dembele, and I thought Gini in that 6 has been predominantly good so far this season. He had a good game for Holland against France at the weekend as well. So I thought, he's form-wise, play him. James Milner, I don't think you can chuck him out because I think he's shown he's probably our best midfielder and most consistent. And he's got the experience as well. If something goes wrong, then he's there. Whereas,
are you saying, though, by the Milner thing, that you're not putting him in the Champions League game in midweek because he's playing it this weekend? Or if you're not thought that far
I think Henderson plays in the Champions League game.
So you're taking our record European assist there from last season out of the Champions League?
Whoa, don't ruin next week's build-up show, lad. Not for me. And listen, I didn't base it in the same way that Ross did. I based it on who's come back early from the internationals and stuff like that. So I think for me, Wijnaldum's come back a little bit earlier. Keita's come back a little bit earlier. Milner's had a really tough game in that game with Petrov and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But ultimately, he'll have been here for the most part. And just having those extra couple of days training, there's one guy in the team that you throw back in who comes back late, and his name's Roberto Firmino, because he is key to everything that we do. Yeah. After that, you probably look at it and go, well, you're here, you're in.
I think if we're going to see some, and I've not gone with this because again it's preferred. I really wanted to get Fabinho in there, but for me, I feel like if we're going to get Fabinho in there, it necessitates a change of formation. I think it wouldn't shock me to see him introduced in a 4-2-3-1, perhaps. As you mentioned, maybe it's one of those big away European games where we might see us go more like that. I think if we are going to see a change, though, a radical departure from what we've seen so far, this is probably the game for it, because I don't think there's anything wrong with how we approached European games last season, by and large. But quite clearly, fundamentally, I mean, maybe you could blame it entirely on Lovren's mistakes, and I think given that he got hooked in that game, I think Klopp probably did at the time as well. I wonder whether there is a point where we do something. There's a bit of a departure, something maybe we've worked on. So
what are you thinking?
4-2-3-1 potentially for this game, where you could see Fabinho and Henderson in there, and then you maybe go Keita as more of a 10 or something, or hey, something else more mad. Maybe you see Shaqiri in there in this game for that. It does feel possibly slightly too early, but I do wonder whether I'm not convinced that we'll go with necessarily what we've seen.
So someone said to me in a comment section of a video this week about Fabinho playing right back and stuff for Brazil, and I wonder if Fabinho could be a right back and Trent gets moved into midfield. Now I'm not suggesting that that's ever going to happen, but my word, that kind of excites me a little bit as well. You know what I mean? If Fabinho's a good right back, the idea of Trent being in the midfield excites me, and I don't think it will ever happen, but nice to talk about.
Was this Sam Maguire who wrote this for the ICC? Maybe as well. Someone wrote an article on this, definitely. If we've bought Fabinho, look, we don't need any more right backs. We've got so many right backs, it's ridiculous. Just play Nathaniel Klein right back and let Fabinho be in midfielder, for God's sake. You don't solve your problem of not having a DM by buying a DM and playing him right back.
That's a good point.
Maybe we do. Maybe this is the bonkers world we live in.
The PSG stuff's quite interesting in that, Fabinho will have come up against that PSG side before a few times, and the Neymars and the Mbappés and all that type of stuff, and maybe that's the game that you bring him in for.
Yeah, it is. It is fascinating, and I can see. Look,
he needs minutes though.
Yeah,
he needs minutes.
This is exactly
somewhere.
it. That's the thing about him. He got a little bit of time, as you say, at fullback for Brazil. You're not going, oh, great, perfect, there we go, fit and rare.
Get him in, lads.
Yeah, exactly, throw him in a big game. And that's what I was kind of alluding to before, Ross, is that there comes a point where Fabinho's just going to have to play so that when we need him, he's fit to play in a game. And the longer this goes, we're entering into a period now where there's no, maybe you can say the Southampton game, but Southampton have notoriously been a bit of a bogey team for us in recent years.
Chelsea's definitely one of them in the cup.
Yeah. But this is it, is that, we're going to... A decision's going to have to be made on these at some point. I do wonder, though, whether it will be interesting if we stick with the same stuff until it stops working. I'm not sure I'm keen on that, if that makes sense.
I think, I agree, it does need minutes, but we're under so much pressure in every game, and we have been for the past 4 games. If you change something, you lose ground on everyone else already. I know Man City have dropped points and Man United have lost games already, but we're top of the league. Don't change what's working. But then Southampton, I would have put them in the Southampton game, because I think it's not a dead cert, but out of all the games that we're playing, it's more unlikely. The Chelsea game away, you put him in a cup game, lose the cup game, and then you get lauded for putting him in a cup game and you get knocked out.
My thing with this, in terms of the midfield, and Gini is the 6. I think he's performed admirably in that role, and I think he's been the best performer in that role that we've had so far this season, because I don't think Henderson was particularly good last time out. That being said, he did a great job away from home against Man City ultimately, but I don't think anyone would go, oh yeah, let's definitely have Gini Wijnaldum in all our massive away games. I think he held his own, but I don't think it's not his natural role. He's just quite good. He's better than putting Milner there, because Milner's pretty poor when you put him in that situation. And I do think maybe this is that game where I think it'll be Henderson or Fabinho, because and maybe, as you say, it goes back to that physical encounter. If we have got a track record of not winning that physical battle against Dembele, maybe he's been sitting there going to Fabinho, here you go, here's your Dembele DVD, lad, and you can sit there and get ready, because you're going into a fight with this lad. Be an exciting opportunity, nevertheless.
You get back on Friday, do the Brazilians?
By all back to Melwood on Friday, so I don't know whether that means they get in the early hours of Thursday or it's late Thursday night or whatever.
It's probably a bit of a tough ask for Fabinho for this one, early kick-off and all that, travel to London as well off the back of travelling back. So, yeah, I think the Henderson thing makes perfect sense. I could absolutely see Henderson coming in, but Wijnaldum's been there for that little bit longer, and I think that might play in his favour this time out.
The Brazilian lads didn't take any part in the game, did he, last night?
The which?
The Brazilian lads didn't take any part in the game, didn't play any minutes.
And that's the thing. It's as we said, it's more preparation is the issue. It's a massive game. It's a big team. These are the games where you need to be tactically on it, physically on it, and then your superior quality then will shine. Against lesser opposition, your quality might just shine through without having to be absolutely tactically spot on. When you get to those big games, there's far less you can give up in order to get across the line. It might just be that there's a balance there where you look at how Spurs are going to be impacted maybe in a slightly similar way, etc., and whether we think that it's a gamble. As you're right, I agree. Bobby Firmino will be the one that's an absolute shoo-in to be gambled on. Maybe.
Put your money on Sturridge starting up front.
Absolutely. 4-2-3-1. Dom Solanke leading the line, Saladin behind.
He's not playing a back one of Dejan Lovren now, and then just a few lads further up the field.
One groin, Lovren or whatever it is. No, leave your preferred 11 in the comments below if you would be so kind, please. Let's have a little look around the weekend's fixtures then. We were talking about this on the podcast this week, Chris, is that we've enjoyed the start of the season because every week we get to watch Liverpool win, and then there's a rival fixture head to head where someone we don't like loses points.
We've had more than one win a weekend.
It's been great. It's been absolutely splendid. We're now entering this period now. Chelsea at home to Cardiff. As much with all these things, shocks can happen.
Yeah, of course.
But no sensible gambling man is putting any money on Cardiff beating Chelsea, Fulham beating City away. Maybe Arsenal, Newcastle. Rafa's been perfecting his shutout technique, and Arsenal are the worst of all those teams that he's faced so far. So maybe, but again, look, Watford surprises with Spurs. They have got Man United, but there's no getting away from this, and it's hard. I don't want to slip into the hyperbole. It's very easily done. This is the big game. Blah 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 blah. We've built ourselves up a nice little buffer between between Spurs, City, United, etc. So it's not the end of the world if we were to drop points in this fixture, but equally on the flip side of that, Ross, these are going to be sat down, licking their lips and waiting for us to slip up and cock up. There's a chance, as Chris said, to put more distance between Spurs and make everyone look at us and go, oh, wow, we're going to have to be absolutely flawless every week if we want to catch Liverpool.
Yeah, I think it's to do with the rest of the month as well. I think we need to start well now, coming back from international break, set a precedent and go, this is how we perform throughout the rest. Because if you get drop points now, I don't think heads will drop, but it'll be one of them of going, oh, well, what's next?
This is the most important game of this set of fixtures because it sets precedent, it sets the tone of what's happening. And look, you know, if there's an upset this weekend, it's Manchester United beating Watford. I think first and foremost. After that, Newcastle, Arsenal, whatever. But you've got to look at Chelsea, and they'll be the ones sitting there rubbing their hands together going, these lads have got big Champions League games and we haven't. And if we can continue to get points, these lads might drop points here, and that's the difficulty. And once Chelsea maybe got that little bit of form, they've got the experience in their squad. They know how to hold a lead. And all right, they're still getting used to Sarri and stuff like that, but there's winners in that squad. And they need to be thought of as a serious rival, and we need to put as much distance between us and Spurs as possible.
It kind of comes back to what I was saying about this, the nature of this test against Spurs. The Liverpool team during the evolution under Jurgen Klopp, and you can probably track this back, but not for this conversation, comes into this run of fixtures, probably loses this game, and then uses it to spare it on, and then goes and does, and picks themselves up the next week against these are a tough spell of fixtures. Liverpool will not win, I don't think. It'd be nice. I think it's unlikely Liverpool will win every game in this spell of tough fixtures. But you're right. It would be, if Liverpool have improved, it would be nice for us to actually put a marker down straight off the bat, because as I say, everyone is looking for blood in the water. Everyone's waiting for us to make a little slip up. It sends a message to everyone. It sends a message to the squad. It makes that the self-belief that comes with that, and going, we're not that side anymore. We're not that side that stumbles and falters and dusts themselves down and picks themselves up. No, we're boss. We're brilliant. We're going to steamroller through come hell or high water. And as I say, that is the importance, and unfortunately another example of the horrendous stress that comes with supporting Liverpool at every single game this season.
But a difference for last season is we've got game changers on the bench as well. Either way, if we're 1-0 up, we can bring someone on that can come defend the lead. Or if we need another goal, there's Shaqiri there. If Salah's been someone ragged for 80 minutes, Sturridge.
It would be. This has got that feel. If we were to write this as a story, and football very rarely works this way, of course, but because of the Tottenham's fears over investment and buying players or whatever, it would ring and flow quite nicely. Were one of Liverpool's new signings to be a difference maker in this game. Doubly so if it was someone off the bench, and even triply so if it's Shaqiri, who cost piss all coming off the bench to be who was a player that any of the top teams could have had a punt at if they'd fancied it. I'd rather us just win comfortably in normal time. That would be the much preferable option. So if you're watching Liverpool, Jürgen, lads, just do that. Score prediction, Ross?
1-0 and an Alisson rainbow flick over Harry Kane in the 89th minute just to kill us all off.
Okay, cool.
A 2-1 victory to Liverpool with Naby Keita scoring one of the goals.
Oh, go on, I'll take that. 3-1 to Liverpool, 2-1, and a third goal added in the last 5 minutes of the game by one of Daniel Sturridge or Xherdan Shaqiri, as we've got Salah wrapped up in cotton wool ready for the PSG test. Ideal world scenario. Preferred 11s, score predictions in the comments below if you would be so kind. Drop a like on the video because it always helps, of course. If we're not there already, we're time of film, we are tantalisingly close to 300,000 subscribers. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, do get involved.
I can almost taste it. No, that's sweat.
Oh, that's salty. Get involved. Thank you very much. And as I say, there's so much extra content. If you need more than this between now and kickoff, there's a few free videos on the YouTube channel, but more on the redmentv.com. Go over there, sign up, become a part of it, and we shall see you over there. Hopefully, other than that, we'll see you post-match.